Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 12 in the book of Genesis. We're walking through Genesis. Yesterday we were in Genesis chapter 2. Let me start with verse 7. Then the Lord God formed the man of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living creature. So we learned yesterday that we're made out of some common stuff, oxygen, hydrogen, carbon, and dirt, basically, but we're also made with the most rare of elements, which is the breath of God. That's what makes us precious. The critical element isn't our carbon, but it's the breath of God. So we were formed, and we'll find out later, to have fellowship with him. We're created to live forever with him. So let's continue then. Verse 8, and the Lord God planted a garden in Eden in the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And later we'll see that God's going to put himself there as well. And out of the ground the Lord God made to spring up every tree that is pleasant to the sight and for good food. And then here's the big one for today. The tree of life was in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We won't get to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But let's talk about the tree of life. So the tree of life is a species of tree that's heard from basically on the first page of the Bible and on the last page of the Bible. It's a marker of the places that God resides. So it's a marker of the rewards of like unencumbered fellowship with the Lord. It's a marker of the eternality of human beings. So we're created, let me just summarize here. The tree of life was created in Genesis chapter 2. Man was created in Genesis chapter 2. It gets wrecked in Genesis chapter 3. Then it has this huge rescue plan from another 1,000 pages of the Bible. And then finally it's restored in Revelation chapter 22. So the tree of life tells us a couple things. It tells us that Eden was supposed to last forever. So Eden 2.0, that is in heaven is going to last forever. And the removing of man after he sinned in chapter 3 here, we'll find out, and before Jesus came back to restore the relationship, that removing man from the presence of the garden was a mercy. This was kind of new for me here today. So we were at risk to being stuck in the Garden of Eden in a fallen state, in broken fellowship with man, because we had access to the tree of life. So one of the reasons God removes us from Eden was so we didn't live like that forever and ever. So then there's this thousands of year rescue plan that God enacts, restores fellowship, and then he's going to put the tree back to the place where we are and the place where God is. So his stopping of this unremedied relationship that would last forever was really, really a mercy. All right, so the other thing that the tree of life tells us is that heaven is going to be interesting. We find in Revelation 22 that this is a tree that keeps making different kinds of fruit. And my interpretation of that, correct me if I'm wrong, is that heaven is going to be continually renewed and interesting. It is going to be a tree of life, and that the word means more than just alive. It means exuberant and healthy and energetic and vital. So Eden was created with the tree of life there and is a marker for this ongoing rich life of God, and then also specifically fellowship with them. So one of the characteristics of Eden is a restored intimacy and access and familiarity with God. Remember the great verse in Genesis chapter 3, we haven't got there quite yet, the 3:8, where they heard the sound of the Lord walking in the garden in the cool of the day. So we were meant to walk with fellowship with God in Eden, and we will in the Eden 2.0, which is my word for heaven. Okay, so God gives us the ability not to die because of this tree of life. So in heaven, there's going to be no more death, and no more sin, and it's going to be a wonderful restored relationship. So the tree of life tells us about 5 things. Number 1, Eden was supposed to last forever. Secondly, that Eden was supposed to be interesting, or Eden was interesting. Thirdly, is that heaven is going to fix all wrongs with what's wrong with our earth here. So no more death, no more tears, no more sin. That's something to be looked forward to. And then fourthly, is this tree of life is a marker that this ideal or Edenic relationship was in good shape with God. And fifthly, that it was a mercy that we didn't eat from the tree of life while we were in this fallen state. So that's why we got kicked out of the garden. One of the reasons we got kicked out of the garden, rescue plan, restoration, and then we get to eat from the tree of life in heaven. So in conclusion, if one day you wake up and you see this tree of life, I want you to know, number one, you're a believer because you have this relationship that's been restored. Secondly, it means that you're in heaven and you'll be walking with God in an intimate sort of way. And thirdly, it'll be the most interesting, most energetic, most healthy, most happy day, most exuberant day of your life. And God is going to be there. And the tree of life is the part of the neighborhood that exists for you and God to live together. So it will be like Eden, and there's going to be no more tears, no death, restored fellowship, and no sin. Thanks for listening.